People, the headlines, the issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Welcome back, everyone. The Cincinnati Preschool Promise. It is the Cincinnati Public School District's guarantee to provide 2 years of quality preschool for every Cincinnati child. Last November, voters approved Issue 44. It's a 5-year levy to reduce the district's deficit and also provide $15 million for this preschool promise. 9 on Your Side took an in-depth look at Issue 44 before the election on This Week in Cincinnati. And now the program is getting ready to launch for its very first year. And joining us to talk about that is United Way Senior Vice President Stephanie Byrd. Stephanie, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I find it interesting that you are a representative from the United Way,
yes,
coming to talk about a Cincinnati public school issue. Help the viewers at home understand why.
Okay, that's a great question and probably something that people wouldn't expect. But Cincinnati Public Schools contracted with United Way to actually establish the Preschool Promise because it is a program that goes beyond the programs that are offered within Cincinnati Public Schools to include community-based providers. And so because CPS doesn't necessarily have a relationship with those providers, they wanted to contract with a trusted entity like United Way to actually establish those relationships. Now there's a strict reporting responsibility between United Way and the Cincinnati Public Schools to make sure that taxpayer dollars are used appropriately and also to be accountable for the outcomes of the children who are in these community-based programs.
So let's say, for example, like some children will go to an actual Cincinnati Public School for their preschool.
That's correct.
But some kids can't. That's just not possible. There's maybe not enough room. So there are other child care providers, preschools in town, where they can go, and you then, your entity, United Way, would be kind of responsible for them?
Right. Well, so what we're doing is, you've heard the term, the Preschool Promise.
Right.
And so United Way is actually creating the Preschool Promise, who then contracts with the individual community providers. And so those providers number as much as 600 different entities within our city, and they have to have accountability to an organization to make sure that as those funds flow to them, they're doing the work that's supposed to be done and also getting children prepared for kindergarten. And so it sounds complex. It's not as complex as it sounds. Most of the work is going to be done by the Preschool Promise. United Way just has oversight to make sure that we're accountable to the public and the district.
The citizens of Cincinnati really took a leap of faith here. There was not a lot of meat on the bones, shall we say, when this was proposed, and it passed because I think people said, you know what, it's probably a good idea to help preschool kids get ready for kindergarten. So what are we learning about what it is these children will be doing and learning in this Preschool Promise program?
Sure. So I think our community understands that if we get it right when children are very young, it makes it a lot easier for them as they get into school and graduate from school and are more likely to have a more successful future. But that all comes down to them being in a quality early learning program. And you can call them child care, you can call them preschool. They have a lot of different names. But the real issue is the quality of the program going to be sufficient to get that child ready for school? And that means having teachers who have the right credentials and training themselves, have a learning environment that is going to get children ready for school with the ability to determine what children need individually, having an ability to have relationships with the family. And so it is unbelievably important that that happen early on so that the foundation is set well before a child steps into formal K-12 schooling. And so that's what we're offering to the children who participate in this program. When they enroll in a quality program, and we'll be looking at the outcomes that come from it, they should be more kindergarten ready and then more able to do the things that are necessary as they get into school.
My children are now, high school and beyond, but I remember when I was putting them in kindergarten thinking how farther those children were along than I was entering kindergarten, some of them reading, and that's now become extremely important. Is that sort of kind of the goal, like to get these kids to that point?
Absolutely. We know that children who have a quality preschool experience are more likely to be ready for kindergarten, more likely to be reading proficiently by 3rd grade, more likely to be doing well in 8th grade.
3rd grade's important.
3rd grade is absolutely important, and it's okay if they're not ready, but it's a lot more expensive if they're not. And so we're trying to, one, reduce costs to school districts from not having to have children remediated early on, but it's also better for the child to be ready. And for the children who aren't ready in a classroom of children who are, they know that they're not. And so the issues of self-esteem and feeling like they're not measuring up happen very early.
What about enrollment? What about the moms and dads sitting at home right now wondering,
Yes.
okay, how do I get my kid into these programs?
That's a great question. So we are in the process now of implementing a very robust outreach and education program for the community preschool providers as well as parents. And so we will have information sessions beginning in mid-April, 12 of them across the city, 12 different neighborhoods across the city, many more than 12 sessions, just to make sure that they are aware of what they need to do, where they can go, what the requirements are. I'd love to say any program can participate, but unfortunately we have a limit to the numbers that can because of the quality requirement that's in place. We also know that these programs are most beneficial for children who are low income. And so while we want this to be universal and our goal is to have it become universal over time, we are starting and prioritizing those children who have the greatest financial need, because all of the research shows that they're the ones who do the best and can benefit most from these programs.
Well, I want to thank you, Stephanie Byrd, for coming in. This is really important for our audience to understand. AskPreschoolPromise.org.
That's right.
Can get more information there.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.